Oh, hello, Dr. Hashmi here. Thank you very much for joining me for today's conversation. Saturday evenings, my overall topic is neurodiversity. Last week, I talked about autism. Today, Last week, I talked about ADHD. Today, I'm going to talk about autism. And from next week onwards, if we do manage to finish our conversation uh, on autism today, I intend to start talking about the management side of it for both conditions to start with, and then focus on autism. The reason behind is because ADHD can and is effectively managed with medication. So makes life simpler to talk about different aspects of medication and what are the options available for individuals with ADHD. But lot of times, research says 40% of the time it's an overlap, ADHD and autism. I believe it is far greater than that because I hardly see anyone with either pure autism or pure ADHD. Neurodiversity is not like this. Human beings are not like this. We are not like this. We are always on an spectrum. Anything and everything what we do, it's it's always on a spectrum. So Saturday evenings, this conversation is basically focused on neurodiversity. Wednesdays evenings, 7 to 8 p.m., I talk about DIY psychiatry. Simple techniques which we can bring into our day to day life to improve our mental health. And uh, Monday evenings, 7 to 8 p.m., I talk about the mainstream mental health disorders, uh, the actual diagnoses like depression, anxiety. I'm talking about depression. Started conversation from last Monday just gone, about depression, which I'm going to take it further on coming Monday, which is day after tomorrow. But today's topic is autism. So, what is autism? The first thing what we need to mind is a bit of preamble before I go into the subject. It is not an illness. Please do not see it as an illness. And when the term is used autistic spectrum disorder, it is not a disorder, it's a misnomer. It's a wrong word attached to superintelligence. One of the things which I believe happened in British psychiatry is that because of the poor in knowledge on neurodiversity, on autism, these conditions, ADHD and autism, were attached to learning disabilities as a part of learning disability, giving an impression that it is a kind of a disabling condition when it is not. I am using this technology communicating to you all who is behind the invention of this technology. Most certainly not somebody like me who struggled to even switch on the computer. It is superintelligence. It's the people who have superintelligence and ability to focus on something, on a project, on an area of their interest to the extent that then sky's only the limit. So please do not think autism is a disorder of mind. It is not. It is a way of lifestyle. It's a lifestyle choice. It's the personal preference of spending your day or your day-to-day life. It's a preference to do certain things in certain manner like everybody else. We all doesn't like certain things. If you have the diagnosis, you don't like certain things as well. So it is not a disorder to start with. Why it is attached to learning disabilities? Because it is believed that its prevalence is higher in learning disabled individuals. But I can talk about it until the cows comes home, and I'm going to talk about this specific issue, why autism and ADHD or neurodiversity is believed to be the part of learning disabilities when there is nothing learning disabled in them. All I see is super intelligence. So, because of the poor understanding of the condition, it is believed to be that way. And that has caused significant problems over the years, and that has limited individuals to acquire or to go through the process to acquire better understanding of self. And this is the key to it. Now, autism, in simple words, is an individual's preferred lifestyle choice. And that's all it is. Life is a bargain. It is a collection of trade-offs. Whatever you are, whichever type of personality or settings in your mind you carry, there are always positives to it and challenges to it. Tell me if you have come across even a one perfect person in your lifespans. The 8 billion population, I believe it is around that figure, of this world, there is not one single person who could say that the individual is perfectly normal, because the word doesn't exist. We spend lives as per our choices, and there will always be people who would approve us, and there will always be people who will disapprove us. And autism is one of the lifestyle choice and set of preferences we take. Now, anyway, that is a part of the preamble. What happens in technically when we say it is autism? I go through a list of different things which fall into the parameters of lifestyle choices under specific headings. And then you will see how autism appears, it appears, and the way lifestyle choices affects an individual in different aspects of social interaction or communication interactions, or communication difficulties or challenges. I divide this condition in several set of groups. Let's start from physical. So the groups, if you take the names of the groups, it's physical, emotional, biological, psychological, social, environmental, and sensory. These are the different aspects of us which we use in interacting with the world around us. So what happens if you say an individual has autism or individual is autistic? Let's talk about the physical side of it. What happens to physical side? Your choices, the most common thing is in the physical aspect is your choices and interaction will be texture based. You are likely not to like tight clothes. Certain fabrics will be difficult for you to cope with or wear. You might not like to wear the necktie, or you feel too restricted in a fitted suit, or you don't like to wear socks, or the shoes got to be felt right. Similar reaction and interaction and relationship, when it is very much texture based, it also affects food. And the food choices becomes texture based. As I've always said, that we like food or we choose food on 4 basic factors. Food look nice, taste nice. As per our perception, the same food might not be tasteful for somebody else. It's such an individual experience. Everything is so individual. And autism is no different. Like the same dish is loved by someone and hated by somebody else. It's such an individual experience. So we usually like food, the way it looks, the way it tastes to us, the way it smells, or the way it is felt inside the mouth. So in autism, because the relationship with the physical world around us is texture based, the food choices also become texture based. So the likelihood is that individuals would like to have more crunchier, drier food instead of mushy, wet, slippery type of food. So they like a roast, proper roast, but they might not like the roast as a softer roast. You get the point. So basically, the food choices are usually texture based, very individual. The relationship with clothes is texture based, very individual. Chair, slippers, caps, hats, t-shirts, gym wear, whatever it is. Swimming suits, woolly jumpers. It's so much texture based that you sometimes get, it's a nightmare to find the right piece of clothing. But once a lot of people find that this is the specific brand which you feel comfortable with, they stick to it. They just use that specific brand. And this is the physical relationship in autism with the environment. It's a texture-based relationship. Because texture is so important here, it also influences food choices. And that's all it's about. Now, yes, in autism we see that, but under ordinary circumstances, how many people you know who don't like restrictive clothing when they feel a bit restricted? How many people stick to specific brands to make choices for their shirts or their suits or their t-shirts or their gym wear or their, most people like to be comfortable. The times when we were expected to be formally dressed at work are long gone. Most people go to work quite in a casual gear. Hence, the physical relationship with the environment might place some restrictions on the choice of clothes and food, but not to the extent of making someone disabled. There is nothing disability. There is no disability there. Means you look around. Let's say you go to a supermarket and you, in a winter time, just look for people who are wearing winter jackets. You will not find 2 people out of 100 wearing the same similar jacket. What does this mean? Everybody has their own choice. So, is it restrictive? If an individual with autism choose to wear certain things, that's perfectly fine. There is nothing illness about it. But this is what happens in autism. The relationship with the physical environment around them is quite texture-based. Now the second element of it is physical embrace, the space around them. That's also very physical. They don't like people to be very close to them. Sometimes they don't like hugs or physical embrace. That's why you see them not entirely interested in many sports when the athletes in a sports ground or sports field mingle quite a lot and run a lot, and physical embrace is there, physical touch and connection is there, and they don't like that bit. They like their own space. They don't like their physical expression of emotions are not entirely as expressive. It does not mean that they don't feel emotions, because they are very emotional. They are very honest friends. They have all the right emotions. It is just the expression of those emotions is difficult for them. Because of the texture around the relationship, around the whole texture business, makes it very difficult to go for even physical embrace. Hence, they like their own space. They enjoy being on their own. Again, if you look at it, there's nothing wrong with it because we as humans are on the spectrum anyway. Some people like to be light and soul of the party, and some of us like to take the back seat. But in autism, they don't really like to express that. And that takes us to the emotional side of it. Don't underestimate the good intentions and the feelings and the sharp emotional makeup of individuals with autism or autistic individuals, because they do have a lot of good intentions, very rich emotions, but it is the expression of emotions that makes it difficult for them because they might not follow the rules. And that is where we see it's a social communication disorder. Again, is a word of disorder attached to it. I don't know whether it is a disorder or not, but autism individuals, autistic individuals, and autism makes individuals to express their emotions in their own way. Sometimes they might not be able to express the emotions they like to express. Sometimes they might struggle to bring the right words to express their emotions, or sometimes they get confused when they attend any event which require emotional expression more than ordinary circumstances, like going for a funeral or a birthday or a wedding, all these things. So emotions are there. Don't underestimate the sharpness of emotions. It is just the expression. It's very unfortunate that in this real world, when we assess someone, when we make our minds up for an individual, we go for what we see in physical terms. Something which we can hear, something which we can interpret in our minds, something we can observe, and we base our opinions on those parameters. So in autism, it is very hard to express emotions the way the emotions are expected to be expressed in situations. So what we see is either there is little expression of emotions, either the choice of words might not be appropriate, quite abrupt, quite black and white, without the sense of sensitivity inbuilt in their conversation, and that end in upsetting others, because everybody else thinks that they have not felt and they have not understood the pain we are going through, or they might not have valued our friendship with them. But that in actual fact is not true. They do have emotions. They are one of the best friends. They will help you under all circumstances. They have the right emotions. Autism gives you sharp understanding of emotions. It is the issue of expressing them. So the expression of emotions is not what is usually expected in sense of a wider society. Hence, people believe that they don't have the right emotions for the right occasion, but the connection, the communication aspect, which helps us moving from understanding of emotions, our own emotions, and putting them into words by way of expressing and conveying to others, can be a difficult task. Mind you, all these things and symptoms and the challenges I'm talking about, all are part of a learned, can change by learned behavior. We might have been born with all these things, but learning is the strongest process which can change everything. Because there is an element of priority in their mind. If they get focused on something, they can change anything they get focused on. The states of being hyper focused. And that is what makes them super genius, because they can do wonders. Their cognitions are designed for certain things. If autism or autistic individuals manage to get the baggage off their shoulders and rely on their level of intelligence, then sky's the limit. They can bring wonders in this world. The biggest example is of Einstein. And there are many more. Many more. Even at this time of this time in this world, how many individuals with autism have done things which nobody else could have achieved. Nobody else would have achieved. Who did it? Their power of autism. Autism is a powerful condition. Hugely blessed individuals have this, and they are super intelligent. Yes, I talked about some physical issues, emotional expressions. Move on to the biological side of it. In biological terms, individuals could have a bit of a higher risk of gastrointestinal symptoms. They might have irritable bowel syndrome. They might have other gastrointestinal problems, GIT problems, bowel problems. And if they do, they need to get it investigated. Lot of times, anxiety is hidden behind their physical symptoms. And because they are not the best people to look after themselves, especially to look after their diets, it makes them further prone to be anemic, to be deficient in several types of vitamins, or not as physically strong as you would imagine from anyone of their age or their circumstances, situations. So they don't always look after. And if they are busy in doing something, the work takes the priority because they are so focused on that work. So they would forget to eat and drink. It's not unusual for an autistic individual to just lose him or herself in a project of their choice, something they enjoy and love doing, an area of their hyper focus. And these states could lead to a situation where they may end in working for 6 hours non-stop without eating and drinking. And that's not good for health either. So this is something they need to monitor, at least keep the choice of their foods in front of them, or a large bottle. I know a number of individuals I work with, they keep a large water bottle which you cannot miss not looking at it, just next to the computer if they're involved doing something. So primarily they're a bit of a higher risk of gastrointestinal symptoms, indigestion, bowel malfunction. Yes. Number two, they don't give themselves enough food or drink either. So that is something which is in their control and they must pay attention to it. The other aspects of their makeup is coordination. Physically, they are not always very coordinated. And they find hard to learn to ride a bike or undertake any activity or a sporting activity which require much of coordination. Now all these things are a matter of learning. If they are committed to bring change, to overcome all these inconveniences, they can very easily do. But a lot of times they struggle. And whilst I'm talking about this subject, let's spend a few minutes on looking at it. Why autistic individuals struggle to bring change in their lives? The answer is very simple. Their confidence in themselves. That's again the emotional element to the condition. They don't lose confidence as a matter of natural loss. No. It is the people around them. They make them feel misfit. And because a lot of times they are not understood even as a child, the expectations placed on them are usually more than what they could satisfy. Hence, what happens as a result? They lose confidence. And once they lose confidence in themselves, the restrictions become severe. Because they will never find the courage to try something new. They will always struggle to experiment new foods, different types of clothes, or different fabric, or something else, whatever it is. And if they are not in habit of interacting with others, or socializing, what would happen? They will become socially isolated gradually they are going to lose, and gradually they do end in losing their grip on their themselves basically, and they believe that their life has become very much like free floating, not in any control, except the place which they see is as comfort zone or place of their own safety, which is generally home, which they are quite used to of. So what happens next? They will become more socially isolated, more restrictive. And that results in their sufferings, increase in their sufferings. Now, this is what happens in their minds. There's a psychological aspect of it. Now, this psychological aspect, this suffering, is not because of them or because of their restrictions. It is because the way the society has treated them, outcasted them, made them feel different. And it starts right from the very start of their schooling. Because even from the start, they have struggled to make friends. They have struggled to express their emotions. They have struggled to socialize, and the group, the larger group, which has lot of similarities, individuals which actually believe to socialize and communicate and play together, will form the larger group and call the shots. And the little boy or little girl with autism wouldn't be able to express anything. Now the difference is a lot of difference between girls and the boys, which is still in process of us learning about it, because traditionally the condition was not even acknowledged to start with. Then it was believed to be the part of learning disabilities or some kind of deficits in cognition, which is again a misunderstanding, because we know that autistic individuals can progress massively, and their progress and success is far greater than anybody else. We know that. They are the inventors, they are the creators, they are the ones who can bring new things in this world, things which nobody has ever thought of. But again, that was the traditional understanding. And still after all those misunderstandings, we have not yet fully understood the difference between men and women. So men still gets diagnosis or assessment or support far more quicker than women. Because even in a class situation, in a small class in primary school years, if a boy is not socializing properly, the teachers are likely to pick that issue quicker But if a little girl is sitting in the corner quietly, not raising her hand to ask any questions or contributing in discussions, it is not which comes across as an autistic possibility as a first option. What happens is that she is seen as a little girl, not very confident, a quiet one, but the behavior might well be due to the cultural upbringing when the world has changed. Hence, the way girls presents with autism is different than the boys and is still in process of learning. But the emotional baggage they both get very similar. They both get, whether you're a boy or a girl, even in the junior classes, if you can't express your emotions, can't communicate the way it is expected, or cannot socialize the level of socialization is expected of your peers or age group, you're likely to be excluded. Then the coordination issue, physical coordination, also makes it difficult to be the part of many sporting activities. That again makes them a bit excluded. And that's when they start thinking that there might be something wrong with me. Why am I not the same as others? Why am I being excluded by the group? And that is where the concept of feeling bad about self, rejection, feeling incompetent, and not being able to communicate with the larger society. Hence, the confidence is lost. I always say, if you lose your confidence in the junior classes as a child, or at home before then, because if you are not expecting the confidence from your parents, if a child is criticized and put under pressure to behave in certain manner, instead of being understood by the parents, what the child would do? Feel misfit, bad about him and herself, lose confidence. And if somebody loses confidence at such a young age, sometimes it takes decades for them to reclaim the lost confidence and bring positive change. And that's where I link my conversation to what I said a few moments ago, is all these challenges which I have described in terms of the physical, emotional, biological and psychological aspects of an individual with autism can be changed very successfully, subject to an individual has the ability to do that. And that ability comes from confidence, that you are confident about yourself, you want to bring change, and you bring change. Now, the biggest element is of communication. If you are able to interact in a way which is understood by most people you come across, you shouldn't have a problem. No one can communicate with everybody they come across their lives. And that is the truth of it. There are some people you are not going to be able to communicate effectively. But what people's expectations are, that one needs to be able to hold small talks even under normal circumstances, going to the local shop and talked about the weather. As simple as it is. This is not what naturally comes to autism individuals. This doesn't come naturally to hold small talks or just off the cuff conversation, because that's not the way their mind works. Their mind works to get information, process it, analyze it, formulate a response, and give it back. And that takes time. Even the simplest conversations, that takes time. Hence, holding small talks don't come naturally to autistic individuals. They have to think. They have to hold a formal conversation, whatever the circumstances, and they have to think about the conversations they do. Because they have to phrase it in a way which they believe would be acceptable by others. So every word is likely to be carefully measured and thought about. And this is not the way you are expected to hold conversation, because the usual way when majority of people expect to hold conversation is abrupt. Might not be very wise, but abrupt. Having said that, the autistic individuals can talk for England on the subject of their choice. So if they are interested in something specific, let's say Formula One cars, or football, or anything else, or World War II warplanes, or any specific military setup for countries, the way military is set up, or anything else, how an electric engine works, anything specific of their interest, which they spend time in understanding, they can actually hold extensive conversation. On that subject, there won't be any communication issues. There won't be anything to think about. They can hold that talk. It is the small talk they don't see any point in holding. They do tend to save their words from unnecessary conversation. Let's put it this way. And I think that is more sensible thing to do. They don't just abruptly hold communication. And everything, whatever they say, got to be well thought out. Everything got to be planned, whether it's in their mind or in the real world. Now, this does make their social interactions difficult. And they are usually known as individuals who like to spend time with themselves and not to interact with other people. But there is a lot of truth in it because that is the way it is. But it is their choice. It is their choice. That is what they. When I talk about saying that autism is a lifestyle set of choices and preferences, and that's the way it is. It is their choice just to talk and hold intelligent conversation and not to waste time on small talks. And that is what they do. They are the people to not to waste their mental energies on something they don't see as intelligent to do, irrespective of the fact that useless conversation, pointless conversation, improves our imagination. Useless conversation brings a lot of imaginations, a lot of new thoughts to our mind, even if it is absolutely pointless. But for an autistic mind, only useful conversation, a very individually designed, individually processed, individually acknowledged as useful information, got to be expressed. Otherwise, there is no point wasting time. That's how the mind works. Now coming towards the end of this conversation, we are left with few minutes. My view is that today we have managed to cover autism as the way it is, the way it should be seen, and the aspects in terms of the physical, emotional, biological, psychological, and some of the social elements to it. What we are left with, their interaction with the environment, especially the busy places, the sensory experiences they get from various sensory sources around them, their preferred conversational styles, and the way information is processed in their minds. That's very important to know, because these aspects defines them as individuals. That's how they will be seen and are seen as individuals, as people. And then after that, we can move on the therapeutic element of it, that how they can make slight changes in their day-to-day life, or consider doing things in a slightly different manner, and their approval rating will go up. We finish here for today. I know we have quite a lot of audience, but interestingly, I didn't get many questions today. I would have loved to receive questions because I like these conversations to be more interactive. We will proceed with where we have left from next week, and I hope that next week I complete the understanding on autism, and from the following week I will start talking about the management of it, which is absolutely integral, because I am not aware of many places which are actually providing the management of inconveniences and difficulties autistic individuals face in their day-to-day life, and what little things they can do to bring change, a positive change, a change which can make them more happier and contented, but also raise their profile within the social setup. So I'm going to talk about those changes. Please remember, Saturday evenings from 7 to 8 p.m. I talk about neurodiversity. And I'll continue talking about on this subject until we manage to reach a stage of satisfaction. Monday evening from 7 to 10, 7 to 8, 1 hour, 7 to 8, I talk about DIY psychiatry, the little things you can do at home to improve your mental health. And on Wednesday evening between 7 to 8 p.m. at night, UK time, I talk about mainstream generic mental health disorders. I've already started talking about depressive disorder. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to talk about its management. So I'll pick a disorder, which is a common one, and go through the whole range of issues describing the disorder, the way individuals feel, and what management they can do. These things can be linked with the DIY psychiatry session when I talk about what changes you can bring to improve your mental health. So that's all talks for the day, and thank you very much for watching my channel. We meet on Monday evening between 7 to 8 p.m. Thank you very much.